Today we're talking Star Wars Edge of the Empire, Technician Career, and Outlaw Tech Specialization Talent Tree. So the Outlaw Tech was their first crack at making a crafter, kinda, sorta. Funny little hang up with that. They didn't have crafting rules yet, so I guess you would just, I don't know, maybe use mechanics instead of negotiation for a rarity check. Like, I guess in a pinch you could do that. I mean, that might have already been, like, suggested in here. I don't remember seeing it, but, like, that's all you got. Anyway, you get some help with crafting stuff and modifying. Modification rolls are in the game. We do get help with that, which is great. It's also great to help with crafting, but like I said, if you don't have the Technician sourcebook, you're SOL, or just make up your own rules or do the other thing I mentioned earlier. But it helps in a really big way. Actually, two different ways. Two really good ways. It's great. It's a great talent. One of the best crafting talents in the game. Arguably the best. So we got a couple ranks of that, but it takes you a while to get there. So that can't be the only thing you do, right? Well, we do have other stuff that can kind of not really help you with crafting, but sort of help bring to life the idea of someone tweaking their gear. So we got jury-rigged and tinkerer. Till my dying day, I will never, ever be able to know the difference without looking them up. Well, basically what they both do is they both apply sort of passive benefits to gear. One of them exclusively is for your gear. Another one, though, can apply to, like, an ally's gear if you want. And I guess it kind of makes sense from the description which one is which, because one of them you kind of have to... It makes sense you would have to constantly sort of maintain. It makes more sense it would have to always be in your possession, I guess. Anyway, one of them makes an item more upgradable. The other one adds an improvement. Now, what's an improvement? Well, as I said numerous times before, you have to go to the description section, which is an even bigger pain in the core rulebook than the source books, because we have the skill section in the way, but you have to go to the description of the talent section to read, and there's a whole big list of things, depending on whether it's a weapon or a piece of armor, what an improvement means. But there's a decently wide enough variety of stuff there. One especially that could help you with autofire if you have a machine gun, that's borderline broken. Not sure you should be allowed to do that, but why not? It's an RPG. The GM can always counteract stuff. There's nothing wrong with being overpowered. Anyway, you could do some really good stuff. Fun stuff with Tinkerer and Jury-Rigged. But, like I said, it brings to life the idea of someone who tweaks their gear. But you're not actually tweaking your gear. It's just these passive upgrades to your equipment. Instead of getting passive upgrades to yourself, which I'm sure we have some grit, toughened, strain threshold, wound threshold, just a little bit. Instead of that, or in addition to that, we have passive upgrades to your gear, to your armor, to your weapons. Might even make sense to, like, does it apply to other gear? Like, it specifies one personal weapon or piece of armor. I don't see why a GM would have a hair up their ass about, you can't have your toolbox be, get this other bonus, which would kind of make sense. There's a bonus in here that would apply to other stuff, not just weapons and armor. So, you know, Steve's rule, which overrides your personal house rule. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, if you got the letter from the RPG police, but Steve's rule trumps the GM rule, house rule, and game rule. So Steve rule, your players can do it. So show this to your GMs if they're giving you guff about it. So okay, so you can just improve your gear. Really, the stuff to your weapons and your armor are better anyway, but still. Steve's rule. Next we have Houdini, which you have to say it that way, or else it doesn't work. I didn't write the rules. It's just Houdini. It helps you scavenge stuff. Any check that involves scavenging, which I guess mostly would be like a cunning-based kind of thing. It really depends. Well, mechanics, perception maybe probably makes the most sense, but mechanics also could work. Sometimes you have to know what you're looking for. I actually like decoupling. Mechanics from intellect and cunning from perception, and sort of mixing them, whichever makes most sense. I guess mechanical, because it's specialized knowledge mixed with cunning, I like those together. You could do that as a normal thing. I do that as a normal thing, but also you could like charge them a destiny point to a decouple, which that might actually be like a house rule or something like that. That might be a house rule in Genesis, or not a house rule, an optional rule, or a new rule. Genesis does a lot of good things for Star Wars. Absolutely buy it and steal from it. I highly recommend it. Also, since you're doing a lot of scavenging, you know, maybe you're scavenging through a junk pile, come across a broken down but not quite broken down enough droid, and so you're used to working with droids. So it's just, I mean, you're always doing technical stuff, tech stuff. You're probably the go-to guy for repairing the protocol droid for the Master Jabba Hutt guy. Weren't there? He had droids, yeah. You're the go-to guy when he's torturing the feet of the droid for some reason. That scene broke my brain as a kid. I was so confused. They feel pain. It brought up so many questions. Anyway, you would be the guy to fix the robot feet from all the torture. You have an easier time dealing with NPC droids. Well, not really, like, not affecting them, not in a talking check kind of way. I mean, it's not like you're better at it or you get help with that, but when you do it, there's a better result. You know, it's one of those things. Anyway, you're better at talking with droids. Okay, now we get to the fun, techie-ish related stuff, but not actually doing techie stuff, just thematically techie stuff. Utility belt, which I borderline hate because it's one of those rewrite the Matrix kind of sort of talents in a way, not really. You produce an item not on your character sheet, basically. There's certain restrictions, you know, it can't be like a speeder bike. Mostly it's for small items. I think it can be a weapon. Item or weapon, yes. There are restrictions, blah, 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 but, you know, you just have a thing. Is it on your character sheet? No, it doesn't need to be because of the talent. It's good talent. But really, the one I love, known schematic. You have a chance of just knowing, like, a place. It has to be like a vehicle or a ship or a base or something, like some technology place, smallish vehicle or base, ship, whatever. You know the place so you can get information out of it, move on over to the section, and it tells you sort of what kind of results can get you what type of information, give or take. So, yeah, a really useful talent, and I would say here's an opportunity for one of those situations where, like, if your background is being on a particular type of ship or vehicle or base, and now you're on it, well, maybe you can make the check easier, or maybe they don't have to do the check, or maybe they get extra results automatically thrown onto, or something. I don't know. You could modify. I like modifying things for backstory. You get this just because you said you had it, but not too much. Also, because you're living on the fringes as an Outlaw Tech, we have some talents that sort of bring to life someone who's a bit more robust, kind of. You have a talent that can help you deal with environmental effects, so you're not going to be as affected by it. But, I mean, really, it's kind of lame. It's very, very specific. It's brace. There was a talent tree not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, maybe, where they had an improved version. I think it was one of the clones, maybe in Separatists, or the other one, Collapse, maybe. One of the clones had an improved brace where you could spread it around and also make it, like, easier to do or more often or something. Like, that made brace pretty good. Maybe not worth the talents, but brace is kind of lame. Takes up some talents, which is a shame because I'm a little iffy on the tree. We'll get into that in a minute, but we have that. Also, we have active defensive talent. A couple ones, actually. 2 different types for 2 different types of attacks. And like I said, grit and toughened. And that is basically it, right? Yeah. Oh, you get some help repairing stuff. Ships. You get a little bit of help repairing ships. You're a little better result when you repair ships. Like the mechanic, but not nearly to the extent of the mechanic. Not by a long shot. And that's basically... yeah, that is it. So, the Outlaw Tech is supposed to be this well-rounded techie, which, I mean, yeah, it's certainly feeling pretty well-rounded. My biggest issue with this, really, is one, we don't get any real basic help with mechanical stuff. If we just had some basic dice pool manipulation with mechanics checks in general, some sort of bread and butter help that pushes you slightly beyond, like a slicer or something, computer guy. What makes you a slightly better mechanic than the slicer? Nothing, really. Probably the tool you have, or the ranks in your skill, but there's nothing really that just helps you with general mechanics stuff. Though you are better at modifying or creating stuff, but it takes you a while to get there. And those talents we talked about earlier, that modify your gear, the ones that you get really early on, like some of them are way down the tree, the one that you get multiple ranks of really early on, it deals with modification. It makes your stuff more upgradable. How much money and time, just resources in general, are you going to have to modify your stuff that early on to really make the most of it? Maybe you have enough, maybe you don't, it depends. Really, and I don't mind this as a house rule, I think, there's a symmetry to it, so it's kind of idiot-proof to switch one of these so that you get a pair of them early on and then a pair of them later on, right? That seems more, I don't know, it's not great. And what else do we got early? A bunch of really situational stuff early on. That's what we have to work with. So the first 2 rows, there's not a lot that's necessarily going to be really useful or has a lot of wow factor to it. And how much will that I'm slightly better at repairing ships thing, like how much is that really going to make a difference? Is that really worth a talent? And then a little bit of survivability. But no crafting rules in the thing. You modify, but there's no crafting rules, and it takes a while to even get this stuff. And also those talents to help you direct droids, like you don't really get much in the way of talking to them in the first place. The result is better when you are talking to them. They kind of like make a good version of this idea in this with the droid person, but they didn't have to take it that far to be decent. Like if we just had one talking skill, or just, I don't know, like it's a supplemental tree. That's really all it can be. And even then, along the way, like there's not a lot of great stuff you're getting. You're gonna go a long way to get anything really interesting. I don't know if it's even really worth it. And if you're just playing it by itself, I mean, it's not even really a well-rounded techie. It's not even really a techie. It's tech adjacent, I guess. It's, I don't know. I don't know what are you supposed to do with this. I took it as a supplement because I had more points than I knew what to do with. I just really wanted, the crafting thing. I was a big crafter. That's all I wanted. That's all I got. It's fine, I guess. So if you're gonna play an Outlaw Tech, probably a 4 in intellect, because you're gonna be most likely the go-to techie, but you might not be, but most likely you are, at which point you want the 4 intellect. And I guess go with the combat spec, like agility. You can invent and modify gun, like put a lot of your tinkerer and jury-rigged bonuses of all those kinds into a good gun, and you could be a combat techie kind of thing. I guess that's really sort of what it's built for. It's not quite as obvious, but like, yeah, combat techie, I guess. Combat engineer with more of a outlaw, Wild West scum and villainy kind of feel to it. I guess you could play it. I don't want to spend any more time on this, so I'm not going to talk about species. Just, whatever. Next we're going to talk about the Slicer.